Hello everyone, Kayla here, and this is What the Kink, a natural hair channel. And of course, my wash day is different because my hair is different now. So I figured I would update that and show you guys how I go about doing my wash day now. Okay, so first things first with the wash day, I need to wash my hair. It is not a special day. I'm not doing anything particular. So I'm going to use our regular shampoo. We use the 50/50 Balance shampoo from Giovanni. And then after that, I'm going to follow with the matching conditioner because once again, we're not doing anything special. There's no treatments. There's no whatever today. So I'm just going to use the regular Giovanni 50/50 matching conditioner. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse my hair until all definition from the previous style feels puffier out and to where I feel like a good amount of the product has been removed. All right, we got it rinsed to the level that we want. So I'm going to go in with my shampoo. If you are unfamiliar with the Giovanni 50/50 shampoo or just the Giovanni line of products in general, the 50/50 shampoo on their whole scale of shampoo cleanliness, cleaning level cleanliness, I don't know, it's not their most clarifying shampoo. Actually, it's not in the clarifying category at all. It's in the moisturizing category for their ranking scale, but it is not the most moisturizing shampoo that they have. So if you really hardcore feel like you really need a moisture shampoo, then you're going to want to go for their Smoothest Silk line. That's where you're going to want to go because it is definitely a more moisturizing shampoo than this one. And I'm probably only going to show you guys one lather just for the sake of moving along, but I am going to lather twice because I am removing, styling product and all that kind of stuff. If you don't have as much stuff on your hair as I do, then, one lather might be enough for you, then you can move on. But I have noticed that this middle part of my head eats product. So I barely even feel like I put shampoo there, though I know I did. I'm not going to go crazy and put too much more. Maybe in the second lather, we can really get it. But this part, definitely I'm noticing is a little different from compared to the rest of my hair. So I'm going to go ahead, rinse this, do my other lather, and then we'll come back for the conditioner. All right, so that second lather was definitely what I needed, particularly in the middle of my head. It needed another lather to really get what I was going for. I forgot to add a note about the shampoo is that it is a color safe shampoo as well. Because I was already using it prior to the cut and color, but just so you know, and I think all of the Giovanni shampoos from that line are considered to be color safe. So that's another thing as well if you're looking for something color safe. So we're gonna go in with the conditioner. I'm particularly trying to make sure I don't miss conditioner in that middle part. I'm not doing whole pumps, by the way. If you're like, dang, she's going in, I'm not doing whole pumps of the conditioner. It's just like feeling to see what's needed. And I still hit my conditioner with a little bit of water. Nothing beats the feeling. So there we go. Still, it foams up. It's just great. Now, of course, with hair that's short, you don't really need a concentrated, separated out detangling step, but I do it anyway. Old habits die hard. This is kind of taking a page out of my husband's book because this is kind of how he detangles his hair by brushing it this way. I'm still holding it like this vertically. It works better to detangle hair by holding it like that. Learned that from the Glam twins many years ago when they were in beauty school. Which, by the way, side note, you guys notice that they now work in salons and take clients. They don't work in the same salon, but they're officially using that cosmetology license that they got. Okay, so I just go all around my head and get all of it. This does get a little bit of shed hair, but I will tell you that now that my hair is short, collecting shed hair is harder. So the hair will be in here. I just have to wax the brush really hard to get all of this shed hair. Or shed hair I collected while I was washing my hair. I was trying to get it and put it into a ball to get it off my hands, and it was difficult. All right, so particularly make sure I get the middle of my head. Don't want to. That, and then, yes, this is in my face, so I do brush it back off my face. And at this point, I'll turn the brush because we're not detangling anymore. We just want to smooth it. And there we go. Hair is detangled. Really, I just wanted to remove shed hair. And the shed hair is in there, but I'm going to have to work a little bit to remove it. So I'm going to rinse this off my head. If I was deep conditioning, I do deep condition my hair, then I would have used a deep conditioner, and then I would, like, after doing this, put a plastic cap on and deep condition. Again, I said we're not doing anything special today. We're not doing anything special today. So I'm going to rinse, and then we'll put the styling products in. I usually play it safe when I film these, like, regimen or routine videos, especially videos that really aren't about a particular product. But I think I'm going to do something a little different today. Curl mix. Y'all seen those posts online talking about hashtag protect curl mix and all that? They're really trying to encourage sales for the end of the year because they're like, hey, we might have to close these doors if we don't get these coins aligned. So this curl mix wash go finishing mousse, I've used it as the way you're supposed to use it, and I don't necessarily love it. I've also tried to use it as a refresher. Again, I don't love it as that. I looked at the ingredients and I compared it to something else that I own, and I said maybe I'm going to use this as a base, as something that's on my hair first. So I'm going to actually do that today, even though I would normally not do that for this type of video. So here we go. Gonna get it in there. I don't want to drop it. And I'm finding now with my short hair that I used to just apply whatever amount I would have applied to one quadrant of my head, and that's usually enough. That's usually enough product to get me by. That middle of my head, I be trying to make sure I get the product in there, because do a little bit of this to make sure I get this foam in here, because foam is so easy to over apply. So I don't want to end up over applying it. Okay, just maybe a touch, just a tad in the center of my head, because it's just it needs a little bit more. It's not foaming up like the rest of the hair, but that could just be the way that that hair is, and you know. All right. So now that my hair is coated in the blackberry scent, and I do like open it up a little bit just to make sure I got the product in there, but doing this, it pretty much gets it through. And it's a foam. We're not struggling to distribute a foam, right? So now I'm going to go back with the rest of the combo that I know works. And this is the ENBBA Naturals Heavy Hold Base. It's just put over into a jar. This jar actually dropped and cracked, so it's not fully sealed. So I'm going to keep doing this combo until I finish this jar out, and then I'm going to throw it away. I have other Eco Slay jars that I can replace that one with. I don't need to keep that particular jar. So if you guys have not seen my Why ENBBA Naturals Won't Work For You video, go check it out. It focuses around this heavy hold gel, but there's a way you have to put it in the hair so you don't waste product. So that's what I'm doing right now. Whoop. Some of it fell on me. If you watch that video, you know why I'm like, crap, gel is falling on me. I just got the blackberry product in my mouth. Great. All right. So once I get it in there, smoothing it, I feel like I've got plenty of it kind of in this front part of my hair, but the sides and the back don't really have any. So I style my hair based off a feel I always have, trying to see if I can get a certain feel before I move on. So it's not really attached to a certain amount of product. It's attached to, is my hair feeling like I need it to feel at this point and stage? So, yeah, now we have the product around the sides and it feels good. And I feel gel in here as well. That top middle part, man, just a little bit. Like the size of a Skittle. The fact that everyone knows the size of a Skittle. What does that say about us? Okay. So now that I have that through, and hopefully it's enough, we'll find out, is I'm going to go in with the original topper, also from ENBBA Naturals. Now, I don't do the full 2 pumps like I used to do on a single section, because I found that for spreading purposes, it works better to do 1 pump, and then I get it throughout my hair, see how far it goes, and then I'll do another pump or a half a pump depending on how much more product I feel like I need. And so that did get most of my head, I feel. Bring it down. My razor decided to fall off the wall, just to make sure I got it. And yeah, this like strip up here just needs more product. So we're gonna do half a pump because I feel like one pump will be way too much product for me. Yep, there we go. Because I don't really feel like it needs more on the sides. So I do direct my hair upwards so that it is kind of sectioned off for when I do the styling portion. So this is what we're working with. I'm going to take a break and get dressed and everything, but I might stand back in here just because the way the camera is set up, it'd be easier to film standing here. But just know on a real regular day, not filming, I would put my clothes on and I would go stand in front of the mirror instead of back in the shower. So I have tried a number of different things with the short hair, playing around to see what I could get away with. And I found that ultimately the best method to style my hair is to use almost nearly the exact same technique that I use to style the long hair. That is the most effective for me. So basically what I do is I pull down some hair because it's all pushed up to keep it sectioned. And then like smoothing down the hairs is kind of awkward right now because it's short, right? So I will just give it a little twirl around my finger, not trying to do it hard enough to do like a finger coil, but I found that that is the most way for me to get a good grip. And I just twist and twirl them every single way because I'm not doing a finger coil, so who cares, you know? But you see, I'm able to do this pretty quickly. Hopefully I'm in frame. But I'm able to go through pretty quickly. When I finish a row, I go up and just move on to the next part in the row. I do end up with some clumps that are bigger than others because I'm not using combs. I'm not doing any sectioning. I'm not, doing it super neat. I'm just trying to smooth the product into the hair and also smooth any frizz because there is a little bit of frizz even though I just put gel on my hair and washed it and conditioned it and all of that. So this is a way for me to smooth the hair. Before anybody asks, finger coils, girl, I tried them. I can't do it. I think I would, for one, have to be a lot neater in my approach that I'm doing right now. And for two, I think you just have to twirl them a little bit more hardcore than what I'm doing. And I think you need to be a little bit more consistent in the direction that you're doing. So I feel like I know the recipe for finger coils. And I'm just not sure if I'm willing to take the effort to do that. So my first goal that I'm trying to do in this is I'm trying to just move up the back of my head. Like if some of these sections go over to the sides, that's fine, but I'm really not trying to style the sides of my hair just yet. Because the back is the one where I have to hold my arms up the longest and requires the most effort. So I'd rather just get that out of the way and get it done. And as you see, I've moved up quite a bit in just me talking. To the top. Like I know some of these I just did, like I know that could have been like 2 or 3 different curls. But I can't see it. And, I'm just not extending that level of effort. We trying to keep the wash and go, run out somewhere. So now I've gotten across to the top of my head. All right, so pretty much the back is done. So now I start playing around with the front. Because I think the back we got kind of like up to here. Same thing though, taking it down piece by piece, doing a little twirly whirly, an unserious twirl, because we just want to smooth the hair, which is the exact same thing that I did on my long hair. I just didn't do a twirl because there was enough hair real estate to smooth it down pretty effectively. The short hair, not really. It's a little bit more difficult to do that. This is a really big frizzy piece, so this needs to be separated into a couple. Like if it will let me do it, in a larger section, I will. But some of them, it's like, nah, it's not working. You need to break that on up. It's not working. And one thing I was concerned with when I started doing my hair like this was if there was going to be tangles from putting, twirling around. But so far, I haven't experienced any kind of tangling. So let's get another row out. The hair at the top is a little bit longer, so you might have to pull it down and get another section. But especially want to make sure I'm smoothing from root to tip, especially for moving that product down over the hair. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and use the magic of editing at this point, because I think I've explained everything that I possibly can at this point for you guys. Okay, and we are done. I also did some smoothing around this part because I decided to do a part today, and then I dug deep into the archives to find these pin curl clips, and this is what it looks like. I am finding now that I cannot do a full right away, get under the dryer, dry it all the way dry. Because what happens is I end up with like a white cast over my hair, which I then have to get rid of, which I've learned how to get rid of it, obviously. But I'm actually gonna let my hair air dry for a little while. Probably eat, drink, something like that, do a little bit of work. And then I'm going to sit under the dryer, like when my hair is more so already hitting towards the dry end of things, to avoid that white cast. All right, so I air dried, I don't know, maybe somewhere around an hour. And then I sat underneath the dryer for 15 minutes just to get that little bit of a crisp on top of the curls. I do feel like as I was walking around to like put up the dryer and stuff, I felt like there may be a breeze coming across, a little bit of wetness on my scalp, like hiding in there. Um, and then as I just took these out, this part feels a little damp. But I'm not getting that white cast so far, and it's set pretty decently. There's a little here, but like I said, I've learned how to get rid of that, so it's not a big deal, but it's not dry. So back part, I know it's messy, but honestly, it's supposed to be a wash and go, honey. Okay, go. And that is how I've been doing my short hair these days.